Greetings. My name is Shirlyn Cecile Thomas. I am a doctoral candidate at Baylor University. Today, I will be informing you of my study, The Color of Discipline, a single case study exploring Black male students' descriptions of school discipline practices. My advisor is Dr. Melanie S. Meyer. In this presentation, I will cover the problem statement and a brief overview of the literature review, followed by the purpose statement and research questions. I will then discuss the theoretical framework and the methodology and provide an overview of the results, highlighting how they connect with the literature. Next, I will address the implications and recommendations, followed by the limitations of the study. And finally, I will present my plan on how I intend to distribute the findings of this study. Problem statement. This study addresses the problem of disproportionate exclusionary discipline experienced by Black male students in U.S. public schools. Nationally, Black boys represent only 7.7% of student enrollment, yet they account for over 20% of in-school suspensions and nearly 25% of out-of-school suspensions. Black male students are suspended or expelled at 2 to 3 times higher the rate of their white peers. Higher suspension rates strongly correlate with lower academic outcomes. Only 71% of suspended 10th graders graduate versus 94% of their non-suspended peers. The literature shows that exclusionary discipline harms both the academic and social outcomes of Black males. Four key elements frame this issue. First, discipline practices are shifting from zero tolerance and punitive models toward trauma-informed and equity-driven approaches. Second, the impact is disproportionate. Black boys are 3.6 times more likely to face multiple suspensions even in preschool. Third, exclusionary discipline carries serious consequences, including lower GPAs, disengagement, dropout risk, and reduced college enrollment. Finally, teacher bias and cultural mismatch distort how behaviors are interpreted, leading to harsher punishments for Black males. Collectively, this research underscores the urgent need for equitable, culturally responsive discipline practices. The purpose of this qualitative single case study was to explore Black male students' perceptions of discipline practices and Goshen ISD pseudonym and their ideas for targeted strategies to meet the universal goals of education. There were two research questions. Number one, how do Black male students and graduates in Goshen ISD describe their perspectives on discipline practices, universal goals of education, and their ideas for targeted strategies to achieve those goals? Number two, how do documents, for example, an external evaluation, state education agency data, describe the school discipline and practices of Goshen ISD? This study utilized the theoretical framework Targeted Universalism by Dr. John Powell. Targeted universalism is a structured, action-oriented framework that promotes achieving universal goals, such as equitable educational outcomes, through targeted strategies that address the specific barriers faced by different groups. The framework has 5 steps. Step 1, establish a universal goal. Step 2, assess current performances relative to that goal. Step 3, identify groups performing differently. Step 4, analyze structures that help or hinder progress. And step 5, design and implement targeted strategies to close gaps. Methodology. This study was a qualitative single case design. The case was bounded by race, gender, and school years for Goshen ISD. Black male students in Goshen ISD 2019 through 2022. There were 2 embedded units of analysis. Unit A, 2 13-year-old students, and Unit B, 2 19-year-old graduates. The data sources included semi-structured interviews and district-level documents that included state education agency data, TEA reports, and an external evaluation. My rationale was to capture student voices and their perspectives, also to provide contextual depth through multiple sources, and to highlight both current experiences and postgraduate reflections. Overview of the findings for research question 1. How do Black male students and former students in Goshen ISD describe the universal goals of education and their ideas for targeted strategies to meet those goals? There were 3 themes that were deducted from the findings. The first theme, universal goal, which is the category, and codes college and life preparation successful learning experiences. From that came the theme, from a developmental perspective, older participants emphasized that successful learning experiences were related to universal goals such as college and life preparation, while younger students articulated goals rooted in personal aspirations. Theme 2, category structures, codes, educational environment, and negative perceptions. Participants across age groups identified structural barriers, including educational environments that hindered meaningful engagement and school personnel who held negative perceptions of Black students. Theme 3, category targeted strategies, codes, personalized instruction, and responsive support. Although participants did not experience personalized instruction and responsive support, they identified these as promising strategies for achieving universal educational goals. The embedded unit of analysis shows the contribution of each group to the data. Embedded unit of analysis A, faith and resilient. Both graduates view the universal goal of education as preparation for college and life. Faith emphasized the need to balance academic readiness with real world skills, while resilient linked college readiness to helping others and serving the community. However, both identified barriers within the educational environment that hinder learning and reflect bias. Faith expressed concern about school safety and described being unfairly suspected of negative perceptions, while Resilient criticized an instructional culture focused on worksheets and noted that Black students were disciplined more harshly than their peers. To overcome these barriers, both participants called for targeted strategies centered on individualized and responsive support. Faith highlighted the importance of mentoring and access to counseling for students in crisis, and Resilient advocated for step-by-step teaching and creative project-based learning to promote engagement and success. Embedded unit of analysis B, grit and overcomer. Younger participants connected the universal goals of education to their personal dreams, viewing college as the pathway to achieving success and professional sports. Grit linked academic discipline to athletic achievement, showing responsibility and determination, while Overcomer emphasized that good grades were essential for reaching his goal of playing in the NBA. Both described structural barriers in their learning environments that affected engagement. Grit highlighted unfair treatment in class and the need for balanced teacher-student relationships, while Overcomer shared how punitive discipline for minor behaviors left him feeling discouraged. Despite these challenges, both identified targeted strategies that could improve success. Grit pointed to personalized accountability, like the no pass, no play rule, and called for more vigorous coursework to stay motivated, while Overcomer advocated for more tutoring and small group instruction. Overview of findings for research question 2. How do documents related to Goshen ISD describe school discipline policies and practices? Theme 4, disproportionate exclusionary discipline. The documents demonstrated that exclusionary discipline disproportionately removed Black students from classrooms in Goshen ISD. The findings parallel national patterns documented by the U.S. Department of Education 2021, which reported that Black boys receive suspensions at rates more than 3 times their enrollment. Data from the document review came from the Texas Education Agency Public Education Information Management System district level discipline summaries for 2019 to 2022 and an external evaluation report from the World Is Us TWIU, a pseudonym, Initiative 2022. The student demographics for Goshen ID include 24% for Black students, 23% for whites, and 47% for Hispanic students. Disproportionality of exclusionary discipline was significantly higher in the school suspension rates of Black males in Goshen ISD compared to their white and Hispanic peers. In school years 2019 through 2022, Black students were assigned to ISS 51.6%, 48.2%, and 105%. The 105% does not reflect the total population of Black students, but a repeated number of the ISS assignment by the same students. Disproportionality of exclusionary discipline was significantly higher in out-of-school suspension rates for Black students as well in Goshen ISD. In school years 2019 to 2022, Black students were assigned to OSS 23.4%, 15.2%, and 16.2%. Disproportionality was also found in the District Alternative Education Program, DAEP, with Black students exceeding other racial groups by 3.7%, 1.6%, and 9.2%. There were no placements recorded for any racial group in the Juvenile Alternative Education Program, JJAEP. There were no expulsions recorded across racial groups. However, in summary, Black students consistently experience exclusionary discipline in ISS, OSS, and DAEP at disproportionately higher rates than their white and Hispanic peers in Goshen ISD. Findings from the External Evaluation Report 2022. Black students were 2 to 5 times more likely than non-Black peers to be removed from classrooms. From 2007 to 2021, Black students were consistently 3 to 4 times more at risk for disciplinary removals compared to white and Hispanic students. There were differences in grade levels. Pre-K to 4th grade, 16% of Black students versus 4 of non-Black students were removed from the classroom. Grades 5 through 8, 43% of Black students versus 24% of non-Black students were removed. And grades 9 through 12, 33% of Black students versus 23% of non-Black students were removed from the classroom. Regarding COVID-19, there was a decline in total discipline incidents that occurred during the 2020-2021 school year due to hybrid and remote learning. However, despite this temporary drop, racial disproportionality persisted, indicating systemic inequities rather than temporary fluctuations. This study's findings implicates the vital role of teachers, administrators, and parents in reducing disproportionate discipline. For teachers, the recommendation is to engage in continuous self-reflection and professional growth to recognize and address implicit bias. They are encouraged to use restorative justice and culturally responsive teaching to build fairness and belonging in the classroom. For school administrators, the recommendation is to lead by example, requiring staff training in cultural competence and bias awareness and reviewing discipline policies to ensure consistency and fairness across all student groups. For parents, the recommendation is to become informed advocates by understanding school policies, maintaining open communication with educators, and working collaboratively to support their children's academic and behavioral success. This study had three key limitations. First, my close connection to the study population may have introduced implicit bias that could influence how I interpreted the data. Second, the research was limited to one school district with a small sample, which narrows its scope. Finally, because the study focused on the specific context and population, the findings may not be fully transferable to other schools, regions, or student groups. This research will be shared through multiple channels to reach teachers, administrators, and parents. For teachers, findings can be published in the Phi Delta Kappan, presented at the Innovative School Summit, and integrated into teacher education programs and district professional development sessions. For school administrators, results may appear in the Journal of Education Policy, at national conferences such as the National Conference on Education, and through executive summaries distributed to districts and education agencies. For parents, information can be shared in Our Children magazine through PTA events, family engagement nights, and concise one-page briefs on discipline policies and parental rights, as well as through digital platforms like webinars and social media to ensure broad community access and awareness. This concludes the overview of my study. I hope you really have been informed and enlightened on the subject matter. Blessings and appreciation to you. Thank you so much.